Instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod.
All right, welcome to the Flagstick Podcast. I'm Jeff Botter. He's Scott McLeod. Time to get serious, people. Time to get serious.
About
Seriously, the podcast is sponsored by Golf PEI. Golf Prince Edward Island is a premier Canadian golf destination boasting the most number of golf courses per capita in this great country. With over 400 fairways closer than you can imagine, top-tiered accommodations, and exquisite culinary experiences, it is the greatest golf vacation you will ever book. So book one at golfpei.ca. Make sure that you're following us across all the social media networks, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook. And please subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like us, and click the notification bell. Make sure that you never miss a single episode of this podcast. We keep putting new stuff up there all the time. New clips, new shorts, instruction features are coming. Reasons to be a subscriber to the YouTube channel.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, and we do appreciate that. You're right. This week on the podcast, we're gonna do something. We're gonna talk about something a little bit different. It's in the news a little bit more since the Masters. We're going to talk a little bit about the comments that Gary Player made with respect to the rollback of the golf ball. Now, we may not specifically talk entirely about rolling the golf ball back, but we may talk about something regarding the golf ball and should there be one golf ball to rule all golf balls when it comes to professional golf. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the Masters, of course. What we thought of it, what we thought of Rory winning again, what we thought of the whole Masters experience this year, both the good and the bad, because I know it's the Masters and everybody loves it, but there was some bad with respect to the Masters this year, and it wasn't the golf course per se. We'll talk about that as well. So I suggest we get going on it because
let's go. Let's get to the first tee.
Front nine, presented by Metcalf Golf Club, a natural setting, a pleasant challenge. Now is, of course, the greatest time to be thinking about the golf season. It's around the corner, closer than you can imagine. 10, 20, and 30 game packages are always available. And, of course, the 50th anniversary being celebrated this year by Metcalf Golf Course. Some events going on with respect to, of course, the Charity Classic this year. And the big anniversary event that you can register for. So do that. Visit metcalfgolf.com and stay in touch with Golf Savings. Scotty Mac, let me tell you something right now. I thought maybe like a week ago or even 2 weeks ago, we were getting closer and closer to golf courses opening. And this rain, while it's great in March to get the melt going, it's not great in April when you're really like this time. Golf courses were kind of hoping and expecting, I think, to be opening soon. And this rain does kind of throw a bit of a damper, if you will, saturating the ground, that's already pretty wet because of all the melting. And it holds back the opening process. So we're I think we're looking at some delays.
So as we talked about last week, obviously my phone DMs, everything gets blown up because of the golf course openings calendar, which thank you everyone for continuing to hammer that. I assure you we are updating it as fast as we can as we get information in. We'll say though, always check back because there has certainly been some movement in that calendar. Dates at golf courses, for an example, later on this week, it's a big day later on this week. There's a number of golf courses that we're planning to open, and then subsequent messages from them. It's too wet. We can't have golfers out there. First it starts up, okay, we're going to open. There's going to be no carts. Then it's, we're not going to be open. I will say, there are some golf courses that are open down in sort of the Quinte region. There are a number of courses that will be opening this coming weekend, but Certainly call ahead and
Yeah, good
double
plan.
check that. I would expect, we're going to see a lot added to that calendar kind of in the next 2 weeks, but a lot of it's going to depend on what happens here over the next few days. And unfortunately, that forecast does not look super, super promising. Now, that said, it is going to help some golf courses take care of a few things, get some growth, get the courses even in better condition and be ready for full member play, or obviously green fee play as well. So don't be too concerned. And like we said last week, once we get into the season and things get started here come May, you're not even going to remember that you're delayed
Not
by a
really.
little bit. So yeah,
Not really, and,
so
and it's getting a little warmer in the evenings too, and that
yes,
does help. So to your point with the rain, when it gets a
yep,
little warmer in the evenings, it helps with this early season grass growth. And when you get a
yep,
little moisture, that helps as well. If you don't get the
hmm
moisture, it kind of hinders it a little bit. But this is kind of excessive. Now, speaking as a golf, the publisher of a golf magazine and so on, and as the father of a son who works on the maintenance team at one of the local golf courses, I can attest to the fact
yeah,
that um, they would like nothing more than for the rain to stop for a while
yeah,
so they can
yeah.
actually do some
Get some
cutting,
work done.
and because it
Yeah,
does hold that back a little bit too because it's so soft, and
yes,
getting the mowers out for the first time,
yeah,
a lot of cleanup work that has to be done in the spring, but they like to do that before, this
yes,
this kind of time. They're usually cleaning and stuff in late March, early April before we get to this point. Once you pull the tarps, you want to be cutting.
right.
When you're not cutting after you pull the tarps, you kind of like, I
Yeah,
want to be cutting. And
as
training
once,
and stuff. You got new people, you
yes,
want to be
true.
training them. Now's the
Right.
time to be training them,
Yeah.
not May.
During the season. Yeah. As
You
one
know,
superintendent said to me this week, we can't cut puddles.
no, they
Which
don't cut well.
no, they do not cut well, but a number of ranges that are open as well. So there's an opportunity for
Yeah.
people to get out.
It's
To
not
a
about
point.
not being able to hit balls, people.
No, 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 no. So yeah, there's definitely a number of ranges that are open. Some are struggling in that aspect just for ball picking, just because balls getting embedded and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
I noticed a few
so
posts on social. I won't mention the location specifically,
yeah,
those people will know, but I noticed a few posts on social with some very puddle-filled driving ranges right now, and that's
yes,
not they can't get the pickers out. And now this time of year, a lot of them are hand picking anyway.
true,
But
yes,
I know some of the bigger ranges like to get the pickers out because
yeah,
it's kind of
it's
a
busy.
tedious thing.
Yeah, for sure. So, anyways, just for everybody, just go to flagstick.com, check back on the calendar there. I literally update it from my phone. So as soon as I see something or somebody sends me a message, we get that posted as quickly as possible. And if you are an authorized person at a facility, please let us know. And then, also let us know as far as the adjustments as well.
Hmm.
We don't want to, cause any extra grief for anyone, just because maybe they provided an opening date and they had to back away from that. So,
No
anyways,
grief.
there you go.
Okay, so listen, this is what happened on the weekend in case you were under a rock or you're not paying attention.
Was there a
The
tournament?
Masters happened,
Really?
and by now we know that Rory McIlroy, despite his best efforts, was able to defend
Yeah.
his Masters title, something that eluded this guy for so
17
many
years.
years,
Yep.
and
So,
and then he wins one.
hmm
And you have the whole meltdown last year on the green with this, like just this big wave of relief that he got it done. And then, all the getting on his case about his golf game going in the crapper after he won the Masters because he's achieved golf mortality or immortality, and his career was over. And then he comes back and wins the Masters again in somewhat dramatic fashion.
yeah.
What did we think about the Masters? I mean, I know
I
uh,
rewatched it on Monday night.
I watched. What's that?
I rewatched it on Monday
I
night.
watched start to finish. It's the first year in a very long time
Hmm
where I have actually. I was now. I should qualify this by saying I was a little under the weather over the weekend, so I wasn't really into going and doing a whole lot of
He had
stuff
the
on set.
Masters flu.
But I actually did have
I
something.
know.
But
Yeah.
I decided, you know what, I'm not doing. I'm not. I'm got up in
Chill.
the morning, started watching the coverage, curled up on the couch, drank tea
Yep.
all day, and unless I was running to the bathroom because I was drinking tea all day, I was watching the Masters,
Yep.
all the coverages, um, and it was a very riveting Masters this year. I found it was very exciting to watch with all of the ups and downs of the scoring that was happening, which was the exciting part. Is it wasn't like a free for all of or a birdie fest where they were just eating apart Augusta. Which in the past you get Augusta a little wet, and you see some of those years where you're just like, it's not
No,
Augusta's not really Augusta,
no.
you
Augusta
know.
was fighting off a little, fighting the players a little bit for sure.
So this year it was like, okay, you're seeing some of those slopes and the greens really show their teeth.
Hmm.
You're seeing some of those approach shots be a little bit more difficult. Balls, not holding
Bouncing.
greens and
Yeah.
not holding fairways, and it felt better.
Mm.
As far
Yep.
as watching a major championship, specifically the Masters.
Yep.
So the whole thing felt good. Rory with the big jump there on after Saturday or after Friday, where he had the
Yep.
big lead, and it's like,
Yep.
I don't know about you, but I knew that lead was not holding
Oh
up.
no, the odds of it holding up are pretty slim. I mean, it's very difficult as a tour player to have four great rounds, and especially considering, as you said, how the golf course was playing. It was getting firmer and faster, to the point, there was a couple of golfers complaining because of their side of the draw or whatever. But you know what? Again, they all had to deal with it. Some dealt with it better than others. Yeah, look, there was some great shots. There were some stuff that you saw some play that was like, whoa, okay, that player all of a sudden just had a disaster, a wild three putt, a putt off a green, a putt into a creek, things you sort of
Pre-bunker
expect.
shots.
Yeah, exactly. Things you expect to start to see in a major. Obviously, Rory was playing the best through those 2 days, fought his way through, the Saturday, and fought his way through the Sunday. I mean, he said it himself. He didn't expect that, after he was done and got himself in that position, that even par was going to do it on the weekend.
Hmm.
And obviously it did, but, helpful, I think, to to the drama, to the scene that was happening. There's four players that had the lead, over Sunday, different players. It was getting tossed back and forth. All of a sudden, Rose is hitting this great shot out of the woods on seven. And, there was some spectacular stuff that was happening. There was some spectacular disasters that were happening. The
Oh
number of
yeah,
people that were bouncing the ball over 15 into the pond on 16
haven't seen
was
that in a long time. Like that's
have
not,
not.
yeah.
No. And there was a couple elements to do with that. One, players were having a little bit longer into that green. There was a lot of approaches that were coming in from 250, but again, trying to hold it there. So what was nice was those par fives, as much as we like to see the eagles and whatever, it was nice to see those par fives play like par fives and make it a real decision of whether to go for it or not, and to take on the risk, which will lead into some of our discussion later on,
Yeah,
I
of
think.
course. Yeah.
And the fact that it was really a challenge, and then even when they went to play the third, it wasn't a guaranteed,
No.
right? And
No, but with the third, traditionally is played one of the hardest golf courses or hardest holes on the golf course. Like it's
Yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah. No, I meant the third shots into
Oh, the third
those.
shot.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yes, the three obviously plays very difficult. But yeah, the third shot into those par fives was playing, really hard. Even on eight, a hole like eight, we saw that all of a sudden Cam Young had to get creative and play that shot up the bank to get it close, and you're really seeing the skills of the players, which is what you want on display in a major championship, is
Of
you want
course.
players to distinguish themselves by having to hit spectacular shots, to make difficult choices. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things we'll talk about it. I'm here that kind of threw some things off. I don't know. I love the pin on 16, but I don't love the pin on 16 sometimes. As
Oh, the
far
one
as
on
the
the
sun,
left, and the one when they
the
put
Sunday,
it on the
the
yeah.
Sunday, the Sunday pin, because we sort of know there's all that drama and excitement and the potential hole-in-ones and so forth. But
Wouldn't you rather see it up top on Sunday?
on Sunday, maybe, yeah, just
But it
from
doesn't
a
bring the water into play if they put it on top, and that's
no, but it does bring that it does so it does take out the double bogey for sure, but not 100%, because the thing is if they go at that pin on the top right, that bunker comes into play and you cannot
mhm,
stop a ball
mhm.
from that bunker. So I don't think it always has to be there. I know it's sort of a tradition, and I've sort of
Apparently
stumped.
like no other.
Yeah, I've stumped for that before, but and I think holes like 11 are kind of, I don't know, 11 at 520 now, and players, all of a sudden hitting, 220 in with that pond on the left side. I mean,
Well,
it's,
here's an interesting thing about 11.
yep.
Okay, and this is good that you're bringing up 11 because 11 playing the distance that it plays.
Hmm.
When the guys are coming in at it with slightly longer
Yeah,
clubs in
let's
their
say they're
hands than in
downhill,
past.
so a lot of times
But
7 irons, 6 irons, sometimes five.
when they're coming at it with a slightly longer club like that, what it
Hmm.
also does is it takes a club that has like they don't control it quite as well, but it
Right, there's
also
more
takes a club
variability.
that has a lot of spin out of their hands.
Hmm.
Where I remember masters in the past where guys were coming into that hole and they were spinning the ball.
Hmm.
They were going at the pin. They were spinning the ball right off the side of the green into that pond.
Mm.
I don't. Obviously saw a couple of balls bank left, but they weren't spinning. They were
Yeah,
banking.
yeah.
Um, I would rather see them coming at a back left pin
Mm.
with a shorter iron in their hand, something that they have to control the spin on.
Hmm.
Or if they hit it anywhere near the hole, it's going to spin off, especially if they bring it in with a draw. It's going to spin
Yeah.
off into the pond. I'd like to see the pond come into play because of the shot making ability, not see the pond come into play because you're trying to hold a 5 iron or a six
Right.
iron
Yeah.
in there,
Yeah.
or you're coming at it from 220. It just doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense. Like
No,
you have to hit it
short
300
of,
off the tee and you got 220. Like I
yeah.
know it's severely downhill, and I haven't been
Yes. Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
Augusta. You
It
have,
is.
so but I understand what
Yeah.
people don't see is
Hmm.
that the elevations at Augusta National are far more severe than you can possibly imagine.
Sure.
It's not; those aren't little rolling bumps. Those are massive, steep inclines and declines that they have to hit to.
Hmm.
So they very seldom have a nice flat lie too. They're
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
up above their feet or below their feet, or
Yeah.
up and down hill lies. So 11 was never intended when it was built. It was never intended for somebody to be hitting driver mid iron like 300-yard
Hmm.
drives down the right hand side, and then it just
Yeah.
something different about it, eh?
I
Like,
think, short of Hao Tong Lee, who fired one in there fairly close, you just didn't see
mm-mm.
players going at it at all. They weren't aiming at it. They were obviously aiming away from it. And yes, you know what? Every single test has to be a little bit different. But even if you saw some of those approaches coming in on 10, 11, certainly didn't make it quite as exciting. And I know this might sound like, oh, I'm fighting against length here, but I want length here. Like, what did you think of 13? Like 13, obviously it forced the players. They would have to hit a spectacular shot to get around the corner. And Rory on Sunday hits one, 350 and goes around the corner and leaves him an option. But again, he couldn't quite hold the green. It's always been my favorite hole, but I don't know. There was something missing this year as how they
Well,
were
I mean, I'll tell
playing.
you what was missing. How many guys that were hitting shots into that green, like how many spectacular second shots were hit into that green, where guys had a legit eagle
Mm,
opportunity, and how many were bailing back left.
yeah.
I mean, the back left, the back corner in that little
Well, some
swale
of them
right
were
before
doing
the
that with their
bunker.
third shot, let alone
Yeah,
their second. They
like
couldn't hold
I
the
feel
green.
like
So, yeah.
length of golf course is being. Some golf courses are not meant to be long. I
Mm,
guess that's the point. Some golf courses are not meant to be 7,800 yards or seven. I don't know what Augusta is now. I know
75,
that.
50.
So 7,600 yards. I mean,
Yeah.
some golf courses are not meant to be 7,600 yards. Some
Yeah.
golf courses are meant to be 772 or 73
Yeah.
or a little shorter, and they're meant to. The back nine at Augusta is supposed to be ripe for birdies, but it's risk reward. There's a lot of
Yeah.
risk reward back there.
I,
Um,
I think the scoring
and
ended up where I thought it would be, but I
yeah, I
also
mean,
want
12
I
was kind of
but
my
yeah,
number.
but I also wondered, that was with perfect weather. A little
Mhm.
bit of wind on Sunday. What would have happened?
Can you
I
imagine
think
if there was wind?
if there was wind, it was going to be single digits, which again, I'm not opposed to for
No,
sure.
neither am I. But it doesn't
Um,
need to be 7,600 yards to be that. 11 doesn't need to be 520 yards to be a good hole.
Yeah, it is severely downhill, but yeah, I would like to see from that approach, again, maybe it's a case of variety too. I mean, I think that's something that I think is lost sometimes in
What about
setup.
18?
No, no, what
No,
I'm
but I'm
saying,
saying like
and
as
saying,
far
yeah,
as
well,
length, like they
yeah,
they
well,
they continually lengthen 18.
Yeah, but here's what I'd like to see is I'd like to see some variety. Personally, I would like to see some variety within the week so that, whole location obviously changes distances or so forth. But from a tee location standpoint,
Hmm.
if there was some more variability so the holes could play slightly different, I think it might be more entertaining or more entertaining for the spectator. So say, 13 or 15 gets moved on a couple of different days or whatever to allow
Hmm.
some difference as far as the scoring or whatever. Because the other side of it too is that if the players are just hitting the same tee shot and hitting the same approach each
Yep.
time, you're watching the same thing every time.
I agree.
Whereas,
I agree with that
yeah,
100%. Like if you're just playing the
yeah,
back tees, it's like going to the golf course, your own course. Well, I mean, hey, the Flagstick Open is a great example of that.
sure, yeah,
We we s- the-
bury it
we
up.
how many times do we get the question from somebody who's first timer to the
Mm,
Flagstick Open to say, I want to get a practice round in. What tees do I practice
yeah,
from? And it's
yeah,
like, well, you can't really practice from
yeah. And they assume it's going to be
any
the
tees.
7,065, which is the full length of the golf
Uh-huh.
course.
But
Yeah.
you don't know that now, depending on the day, depending on the wind, depending on the conditions, we move everything around. But
Yeah.
we also don't play the first hole off the very back.
Hmm.
We move the tees up on one of the par fours to make it
7.
drivable.
Oh yeah, and the 13.
We
Sure.
move the
Yep.
tees up on 18 on one of the days.
Yep.
We're always like, because you have to encourage scoring, but then
Hmm.
you also have to encourage shot making and thought process.
Yeah.
And playing a golf course at 7,100 yards is not, it's not enough of a challenge to just play it long. It's a challenge when you play it, when you don't play it long and you make the players think about how to play certain, like at 18 at Equinel. That's a par five. If you
Hmm.
put the tees all the way back, that's a driver.
Hmm.
And then it's did I hit my driver good? It's go time. I didn't hit my driver good. It's lay it up out to the right, usually in the rough, just to stay away from the water. But you move the tee up.
Hmm.
Now it's driver up into the throat, which brings the water
Mm.
into play in the left, which is danger, or
Yep.
it's a 3 wood or a 5 wood or some kind of
Yep.
long iron to keep you short and stay
Yep.
within the. So there's that. Okay. Oh my God. Now 18's only playing is
Well,
reachable in two today, or is
yeah.
it?
Yeah, well, it's more to the yeah, and I agree with that totally. And I think it's a case of like seeing four different golf courses on four
Hmm.
different days at Augusta. They
Yeah.
have such a great canvas to work with that, just seeing the same thing every time. And, again, I recognize that, they're trying to identify the best player and these are the best players in the world. But again, why not have a little bit of variety? Why not give them a different test instead of just going back to the yardage book and knowing, okay, I hit this shot yesterday. It's just a different pin. I'm going to add more club. But 11 for an example, yeah, go back to the original old tee for one day and
Yeah.
and have it at 450 and let them drive it down there, but bury the pin in the back left,
Yeah.
to make them, kind of goad them into going for it and test them that way. So I'm just saying, just don't make it the same test, make it a variety of tests. I mean, they do that on 12, technically,
Hmm.
because the way that green,
12 plays great. 12 is such a fun hole to watch them
oh,
play
it's so good. And
because
it's
it look.
so
I mean,
different from left and right pins are totally different, right?
yeah, yeah, and I know where Rory and Cam Young hit the ball in on
Hmm.
12. I know that
Crazy.
they meant to do that too. Like you look
Hmm.
and say that was an accident. They
Yeah.
they they didn't both accidentally hit it at
No.
the pin. They were trying to
No.
hit it that spot.
Yeah.
So that's trusting what you got,
Hmm.
what your brain is telling you at that point. So trusting the club you have in your hand, trusting the swings that you're making, because Rory hit it way left on 12 a bunch this weekend too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if he
But he
does
knew he
that
was
in
going.
the on the
Yeah.
final round, I mean, that is one heck of a tough
Yeah.
shot to
Yeah.
make from far left. The other
Hmm.
ones were a little bit easier because they could putt and
Hmm.
stuff. But when
Sure.
you're far left in that
Hmm.
swale and you're coming back across the back of the green to it, all downhill to the hole, and you
Yeah.
got water on the other side, yeesh.
Yeah, it's a really shallow green, and yeah, I mean, he obviously was watching the scoreboard and he knew what he needed to do. And I love the golf course being firm and fast, and
Hmm.
the it's not just a ball landing on the green and ripping back. I mean, I love watching a green like 14, which several architects refer to it as being more like a St. Andrews green. It's huge. It's got a lot of slope and stuff into it, so you have to find the spot to hit it on the green to roll it towards the hole. So look, overall, I think the result was great. I think the drama coming down to the end, Rory's obviously very happy that he had a two-shot lead going down to the end.
I guess so.
Where there's some negatives, I mean, that shot onto 18, man, it sure would have been nice to see where that ball was going. I mean, and it's hard, I know, to get a camera in position, but but I
Is
didn't
it
even
though?
I didn't know until afterwards where I had to go back and look at a still photo to realize the line that he played on. And even I had to go and look on the shot tracer and go, oh, where's the green relative to this? It would have been nice to see maybe it would have been nice to see a drone shot that showed you where his location was and where the green was, because it looked like he was having to go way to the right. And
Yeah,
then when all of a sudden he plays it into the left bunker, you're like, how did he get there?
yeah. It was
And
a
obviously,
shoot that he had to hit through, but like it
yeah, he was
wasn't
going to the
way.
right. Yeah, he was going to the right of the trees, but didn't have to go by that much. And where the angle was, it actually
Hmm.
allowed him to sort of go up and over, which you couldn't really tell. And unfortunately, CBS cooked themselves by having the camera point one way and they go back the other way. And it was just like, what's going
Yeah,
on?
it was terrible.
Um,
The coverage I felt was I didn't
a little
like the
lacking.
coverage. I didn't think it was
Yeah,
very good. TSN's coverage was not good.
I
The
didn't watch it too
coverage on the
much.
weekend
Sky was good.
was not good. Yes, Sky was good. Um, the 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 video, like the putt to win.
Yeah,
Why is the cameraman standing? Why are they using the shot of the cameraman standing behind? Why am I looking at Rory's butt
yeah,
when he's making that putt? Why am I not on the other side?
right.
Like, how do you not know? How do you not have a camera angle from the front of the green
Yep,
towards facing Rory with the crowd in the background? What I'm
yep,
looking at is Rory's butt
yep,
putting the ball out down
yep,
the fairway, and
yep.
it's in between his feet. Like, I actually thought he missed it the way he
Yeah, because you couldn't
reacted to
tell.
it. I
Yeah,
thought he missed the putt.
yeah,
And that's their fault. I mean,
yep,
there's no excuse. Nowadays, this day and age, with the way
yep.
that the number of cameras they have out there, the drones, the
Mhm.
handhelds, there is no excuse whatsoever for having that angle for the final putt to win the Masters Championship.
Yeah,
No excuse. There's no
and that
excuse
makes
for some of the camera work that happened.
yeah, and it's kind of disappointing because obviously they do so much work on things like the website and the coverage during the week and the ability to see all the shots and whatever. And as you said, having work and here's look, this is from the experience of obviously being at events and getting yourself in position. If you're by yourself, it's a little bit difficult to always be in the right position, but if you're with a whole team, you're planning for that contingency. You're
Hmm.
you're planning, it's like, okay, what's the shot that we want? And what are the possible angles that we could get? And if we need two cameras, we need two handhelds, we need one on one side and one on the other, then we get that out there, whether we're
Hmm.
using one or the otherwise.
Oh yeah, it's
So
all planned out. It's all mapped out.
yeah, because that is the money shot. Now, like I said, the sky coverage, I liked the stuff that I saw there. It was actually insightful.
Right.
Whereas I saw some of the other coverage that you speak of, and I just didn't feel like it added to the broadcast.
Well, I mean, so Randall Chambly needs to get off the air.
I couldn't even watch them.
I can't stand it.
Yeah,
It is beyond stupid now.
yeah, yeah,
With this guy, like I
yeah,
don't understand who he knows or
yeah,
what dirt he has somebody on at the Golf Channel for him to
yeah.
stay on, but he needs to go.
I can't watch him. I
No,
can't. I can't. I turn it off, and it's funny how much or how little Golf Channel coverage I watch now, and I cannot watch live from. It just irritates
no,
me to no
no.
end. So
I
yeah.
wasn't. So the other thing that I noticed was brought up a fair bit with respect to the Masters was the merch.
Oh yes,
What the
yes.
heck is that garbage? Those hats that they were selling with the
Egg
Masters
salad
font,
and
egg salad and stuff, like, come on. There's like talk about being able to knock off a hat
oh
and
yeah,
sell it. Like that is
yeah,
about the easiest thing possible. The one
yeah.
thing that you could count on was
Yeah.
if you saw somebody wearing a hat
Hmm.
or a shirt with the Masters logo on it.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, there's a good chance that it might have been knocked off, but it's more likely that they were either there or got it from somebody who was there or
Right.
got it from
Yeah.
somebody whose friend was there, but it
Yeah.
came from the Masters,
Yeah.
a mug, whatever the
Yeah.
case may be. This stuff that they're doing with, like, you can't even copyright that.
No, I think
Like,
part no, I think part of the problem is, I get it. The Masters is trying to modernize things to a certain point for a
but they don't
particular
need to.
audience. No, that's what I'm getting to. The magic of the Masters is the traditionalness
Yeah.
of the Masters. And I'm not talking about this as a boomer that's because I'm 56 years old, because even when I was 16 years old, the thing that was the magic about the Masters was the traditions, and that made it different and that separated it. And I think they're going to have to listen to the social media, what they hear on there, and some of the complaints and some of the things that are people after, and realize that if they want to keep their identity, they have to keep their identity. And that means, getting away from certain things. Yeah, it became, it's becoming very commercial,
Yes.
very
Yes.
commercial.
And was that not the one thing about the Masters that it
They were
wasn't?
right,
It was
exactly.
traditional, not commercial.
Yeah.
And I sat there on the weekend and watching bits and pieces of the Masters with Brandon,
Hmm.
and he was talking about what he likes about the Masters. What does he like about the Masters? He likes the coveralls
Yep.
that the
The
caddies
boy.
wear.
Yep.
He likes the fact that they don't use the green books.
Yep.
He likes the fact that they don't allow the patrons to have cell phones.
Phones. Yep.
He likes the fact when you watch the Masters and you see people, their hands are free for clapping.
Yep.
They're watching. They're not
Yes.
watching their phones. They're not
Right.
posting TikToks and content for their social media channels. They're watching golf.
They're doing
That's
that
what,
afterward. They're doing that
yeah,
afterwards with their merch hauls.
yeah, exactly. But that's fine. Once you
Yeah.
leave, you do what you want with your phone. But
Sure.
but it's those traditions. It's Jim
Yeah.
Nance.
Yeah.
It's those things that make the Masters what the Masters is. It's
I
the
agree.
fact that it's at Augusta National every year. That's part
Yeah.
of the tradition of the Masters. The pin
Yeah.
placements. We talk about the pin placements.
Sure.
Part of the tradition of the Masters is the traditional Sunday pins.
Hmm.
Whether we like them or not, they're part of the traditions.
Yeah, I
There's
get it.
all of these things, the champions dinner,
Hmm. Amateur dinner,
and the new traditions that they're creating with the drive, chip, and putt,
yeah.
with
Yeah.
the women's amateur
Yeah.
championship. So all of these things are part of the traditions, and continuing those same traditions.
Hmm.
When you watch the drive, chip, and putt, and you watch them remove
Yeah.
their hat and shake hands with an Augusta member,
Yeah.
that's part of golf's
Yeah.
tradition. That's the parts that sometimes are getting lost in the
Hmm.
new age of golf with the
Hmm.
new style of things where
Hmm.
everything is modern and
And again,
TikToking.
I don't mind that to a certain point in some of the parts of the
But it doesn't
game.
need, that's the one place it doesn't need to be.
But that's exactly it. It's really, if they're going to have their identity, that they have to hang on to that.
What
So
if
I mean,
what if Wimbledon started letting everybody wear colored
yes, yeah, yeah,
clothing?
that's their
Like
identity, right? So
it's
yeah,
Wimbledon is the masters of the tennis world.
yeah,
They got to wear white,
yeah, that's their
or a
club,
very limited
right?
color, but they got to
Yeah,
wear white. It's
yeah,
played on grass, not clay
yes,
or
yes,
or or uh,
hard
or
court or
hardcore.
whatever.
It's
Yeah,
played on
yeah,
grass.
yeah,
It's a tradition.
yeah.
That's
And
what's
and look,
exciting about
look,
it.
they can modernize it with, the website and extra coverage and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But certainly a lot of those extra traditions, it would be nice to hang on to that. So yeah, when you start to see some of that merch just become like every merch at every
Oh,
bro club in the world,
it's not even
then
that. It's bad.
I know it's
Like
exactly
those are
it.
tacky.
Well,
Those are flea market hats. That's what that was.
it's
That
so
was
funny.
flea market stuff.
It's so funny when you see people wearing it and they're so
I'm not
proud
getting
of
an
it.
invite to the Masters ever,
No,
am I?
whatever. But I mean, it's like, there's somebody wearing a hat that just says 16 on it. I watched that. There was a person, they were on 16, and
Hmm.
that's all their hat said was 16. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, so obviously somebody's buying this and it's not us, but yeah.
It wouldn't be
Why?
me.
Why?
I would
Why?
buy if I was there and I go into the merch tent. I am buying. My hat has a little Masters logo,
Yep.
Augusta
Yeah.
National logo, whatever.
Yep.
That's what I'm buying. Like
Yep.
anything I buy is going to have that. I'm not buying
Yep.
a. I'm not. I might. I might consider buying a T-shirt or something like that that
Hmm.
says pimento cheese all the way or something like that. Like, but even that, I mean, that's
Well,
again,
here's
I
the
don't
thing.
I don't need to go to the Masters to buy something I can buy on the flea market, or I can go to what is that website that we used to go to all the time? I forget. Swing Juice.
Oh yeah.
And they used to have all that stuff. It didn't say Masters on it, but it used
Yeah.
all of
Oh no,
the,
there's lots of that stuff that's out there now or whatever. But
that's where you
and
buy that stuff. You don't go
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
Augusta National to the Masters to buy a
No.
novelty T-shirt that you can buy at any vendor, at any flea market, anywhere in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
It
And
just
that's what you don't want it to be, right?
exactly.
You want it to be something that's like, oh, that's from Augusta National. It's from the Masters. It's not from a third party brand,
It's
right?
got to be special. That's the
Yeah.
thing. The Masters, are there golf tournaments like the Players Championship? Strong golf tournament argument all the time
Sure.
about being a major and stuff. Augusta is a major,
Hmm.
but being a major is more than just about it being Augusta National, it being April. It's about all of the traditions and the
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah.
It's getting tickets that you want tickets for US Open, just go online and order them.
Hmm.
You want tickets for for the Masters? You're
Yeah.
not just going online and
Well,
ordering them. Like
well,
it's
here's the thing. I know the expenses get more, and they obviously the purse gets bigger, and obviously it costs more to run the tournament and so forth. But if they're doing 70 million in merch already,
make better merch.
I mean, no, I mean they're doing lots.
Hmm.
Do they need to do 100 million? If that was the case, then, and I get it that they don't, have an online presence as far as well, they do, but as far as selling, your taste of masters and home kits and stuff like that. But at some point, it gets to be too much. And
Hmm.
if the masters just becomes a brand, which, it is, it's obviously one of the most
But it
powerful, but it
always was
shouldn't be,
not that.
but
That was the
right.
thing.
It shouldn't be about just the commercialism. So,
No,
anyways,
exactly.
I'll leave
Okay,
that
well,
alone.
let's leave it at that, Scott. Let's take a break.
Yep.
When we
Sounds
come
good.
back, we're going to get into this discussion about the golf ball.
Yep.
And particularly, we're going to talk about what Gary Player said, which is something that Jack Nicklaus has said. Numerous people have talked about this. We're going to talk about it a bit. We're going to go over some detail, but let's
Sure.
take a break. And when we come back, we'll get into this golf ball discussion. You're listening to and watching the Flagstick podcast with Jeff Potter and Scott McLeod.
When you golf on Prince Edward Island, there are over 400 fairways closer than you can imagine. Not to mention countless miles of pristine beaches and a rich world-class culinary experience. So get here fast, then take it slow and play around on Island Time. Golf Prince Edward Island.
All right. Welcome back to the Flagstick podcast. Jeff Potter and Scott McLeod. That's us, him and me. And we just finished talking about the Masters, all the good and the bad and the ugly and so on. But we got that out of the way, and we cannot talk about it until April next year, 2027, because there's other majors coming up that need to be discussed and will be
Yeah.
discussed. So we'll talk about those when they come up. In the meantime, something that has come up again at the Masters,
Hmm.
particularly because it's the Masters and the discussion of the golf ball was brought up by Gary Player.
Yep. And we'll
Actually,
talk
you know
about
what?
that here on the back nine.
Yeah, let's get into this first. We're going to get into this right now on the back nine. The back nine is presented by Falcon Ridge Golf Club. Indoor golf is still going at Falcon Ridge, though the golf course will be opening very soon. The simulators are still open. 8 a.m. shutting down at 11. They have 4 TrackMan simulators featuring over 500 golf courses, many PGA Tour golf courses, beverages and light food available. Book your tee times at one of those 4 TrackMan sims at falconridgegolf.ca. Now, that said, I do know that they're coming out. So, and they
Yes.
might even be this week. So,
Yeah, the TrackMan range is open this weekend.
yeah, so and I could be off my rocker. I'm pretty sure that the sims are still open, but if they're not, go hit balls on the range, TrackMan Range at Falcon Ridge.
Exactly.
The only one in this area, I'll tell you that,
Yeah.
or the only one in Ontario in this area that you can access.
Yes, exactly.
Let me say, putting all these disclaimers at the end of
the
that.
only public one.
Let's just say I'll be updating the little read-in copy for the background of the podcast next week. Okay. Golf ball talk.
Yeah.
So here's what happened. Here's what happened. Gary Player and some others brought back up the topic of rolling the golf ball back.
Yeah.
Main players of Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, Tom Watson have all been big vocal supporters of reining in the ball to preserve the essence of the game. So the comments that Gary Player made, and we'll just read snippets here.
Sure.
I believe the golf ball should be cut back 60 yards, only for professional golf. Leave everyone to golf as it is, but professional golf is not
the heart of the game.
The heart of the game. With regard to professional golf, cut the ball back 60 yards.
It seems so simple, doesn't it?
It does, and we know that it's not.
Yeah.
But we know that it could be something doable if it's felt that it is necessary. I'm in a different spot with my opinion about the golf ball, and it's not specifically about rolling it back, though I think that they can roll it back a little bit without making it like this.
I mean, here's the thing. They're obviously having discussions. We're going to have a discussion on the point that you want to make or whatever. But the big thing is realizing that this is obviously not new. I mean, we can go back 140 years and talk about golf balls going too long. I can show you text of articles talking about it going back, and obviously things have progressed and changed. This is coming back. Because it's, obviously Fred Ridley was asked about it at the Masters. We were asked about it in the press conference there. It was buzzing as a topic in 2023. The USGA and R&A have come to some decisions, and we'll get to that in a bit. Whether people think that is appropriate or not, I find it interesting that things are coming from the aspect of, and no disrespect to Gary Player or Jack Nicklaus or whatever. I mean, obviously these are gentlemen that had the balance of their career in a different period of time, but it doesn't mean that their obviously opinion is not valuable. Jack Nicklaus was always an advocate for a short ball, but of course he was an advocate for a short ball when he was a principal in McGregor and was selling Cayman balls. So there was some commercial interest as far as that was concerned, but that's not really the point when we're getting to this. I would say before we get to this too much and talking about professional versus amateur stuff, two little points to make is that we understand that what most people get exposed to all the time is watching the professional game, and they're watching on the golf courses that are in the top condition and the firmest and so forth. And I can tell you, I've played 7,600 golf courses that have played like 6,500 because they're firm and fast and so forth. And the golf ball will go extraordinary lengths, but I've also played at sea level and watched the ball not go that far. That's not to say there's not an issue here. It's just sometimes we get caught up in certain things, and we should set the table and realize before we get to all these things is that, obviously they're making a oh my word, I can't even get a word. They're distinguishing between the amateur and the professional game because, as we know, the average amateur, for a male amateur, their driving distance is only around 220 yards. So this is really, they're talking more about the professional game more than anything for their comments, and this is why this is sort of coming up. And this is why we're talking about it now. Not that we haven't talked about it on a podcast before, but we're going to talk about it in maybe a slightly different way. So.
Okay. Now, it should also be, let's just qualify a couple of things here with respect to the rollback argument. You had noted that that there was time, there was in fact put in place a plan to make some adjustments to the golf ball that was combined efforts between the USGA and the R&A, who are the two major governing bodies when it comes to golf and the rules of golf. Now, originally, the original plan had the pros switching to a different golf
Yeah.
ball.
Discussion was like a two ball system as far as
Yeah.
different rules. Yeah.
That was supposed to happen in 2028, and amateurs were supposed to happen in 2030. Current discussions early this year have suggested a single unified implementation date of 2030 to simplify the transition, because there does have to be a transition. Any change that they make like this, you don't just flip the switch overnight and you make the change.
No, and that was, that happened when we, when talking about grooves and stuff like that. I mean, there's a process that has to be involved there, and as you said, you can't flip a switch.
Now, what exactly, Scott, is because I want to talk about two areas of this. One is I want to talk about the rollback, which is what we're going to talk about right now. Two is the topic that I kind of kicked this off with when I suggested we go there was, yes, a unification, but not even just a unification, but having a single golf ball that is used at the professional level. It can be a single golf ball used at the NCAA level, and we'll get into talking about competitive, amateur, professional, and recreational. But having one golf
this
ball,
an exhaustive conversation. Because
this could go on. This is not a back nine podcast talk. We are condensing this because it was brought up. We want to talk about that, but I also had my own thought, my own opinion and suggestion on this, and I'm adamant about it now. So I'm going to advocate for it. It's going to consume me for the rest of my life. I will probably die a very old man still fighting this battle. But let's talk about let you get into the rollback. Like what is the plan for 2030? What are they going to do to the golf ball for 2030?
They're going to change. They're changing the testing process. So basically, what's going to happen is that they currently test at a speed of 120 miles an hour, and the distance limit is 317 as far as the yards off that for their testing. So that's the current plan. The idea has obviously gone away from having multiple golf balls for particular reasons, and that bore fruit as well when they're doing their testing, as far as how they were going to go about dealing with it, because obviously they were getting feedback from manufacturers and so forth. The new standard will mean the test speed is at 125 miles an hour, and then that will make it, and it will still have the same distance at 317. So this speed has gone up over the years as far as the testing speed and the overall distance that the golf ball is allowed to do. So basically what's expected out of these testing, and this is what's happened for the people that have tested the golf balls as well, at the highest club head speeds. Now, they look at it as a pro level, amateur level, so forth. But you got to realize that this is more to do with the player's speed. Somebody can be a 25 handicap and have 120 mile an hour club head speed, so they can just be wild as far as how they're hitting it. So, but again, this is why it gets into all these nuances. So the expected pro loss. So this would be the players that are playing at the highest speeds within the game. They would drop down probably 13 to 15 yards. The amateur, sort of the average amateur, would see it probably go less than that, under 5 yards as far as they go down. So this is the solution that they've sort of came up with that they were going to put into play, so that basically, as far as the faster and harder that you hit the golf ball, you're going to lose the same percentage with the golf ball, but obviously that's going to impact you as far as the distance is concerned, because you're hitting it further. So if you lose by a couple of percent, your 2% is different than a different other person's 2%. So that's the current proposal, and that's the plan to implement that in 2030 and how they're going to deal with it. I will say before, and I want to hear what you've got to say. I will say that early on, when the very first proposals came out and they were talking about the couple of different things, I was adamantly against a rollback of any kind, because I looked at it initially as the athlete getting better, and then you're kind of punishing them and so forth. But that changed when all of a sudden they decided it was going to be kind of a one change for everyone, which we've had over the years as far as they've changed the standards. And as a person who has a high club head speed, I have more to lose technically, but it's relative to.
So you're
what
saying that
everybody
the
else is.
faster this is the testing process. The faster you
Correct.
swing the golf club, the higher the percentage of distance you're going to lose on this new golf ball.
Yeah, for sure. So if you hit the same golf ball and you're able to hit it at a particular speed, your percentage is basically lower. I mean, if you hit the ball 220 yards, relative to somebody who hits it 330 yards, well, the 330 yard person technically, if they lose a percentage, so if the ball is going 95% the speed, you each lose 5%. Well, the person that hits it further is losing more yardage wise, but they're still only losing the same percentage wise.
Nobody's going to pay any attention to that.
How so?
Well, at the
That's
professional
the
level,
rule.
they might, but Joe, like you just pointed out, Joe average golfer that is going to see the least
Right.
effect on their
Yeah.
so they're not going to care what
Well,
you're doing with the golf ball.
but
They don't care.
that's sort of the point. The point is to basically have it so that
So if I'm
person.
Bryson DeChambeau and I'm getting up on the tee and I'm smoking at 3, or Rory on 13, I'm hitting at 350.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to hit at 350 with that same swing. That's the plan. That's the plan.
Correct.
Is that I'm not going to hit
Yeah,
the ball
that
350 with that swing,
correct.
with that golf ball.
Yes, correct. That is
Okay.
that is the essence of the rollback. Now, that's not to say that golfers cannot, and this was an argument that Sasho McKenzie from St. FX made, was the fact that if they have a rollback, the athletes will be trying different ways to get faster or change their launch conditions to overcome, which is, starts to be an issue of like, okay, does this become like the rule thing or the groove thing years ago, where all of a sudden it really didn't make any change as far as the scoring is concerned? That's
Right.
not to say this can't make a difference as far as things like golf courses and things from a safety standpoint, because as some manufacturer or some architects have said, if they need more land, and also if you look at the pro golfer, they're not wild. But if you're a 20 handicap with a high club head speed and your golf ball goes, a long way, it also means it's going a long way wider, and then it becomes a safety issue for some of those people. So,
Yeah, no, I'm wrapping my head around the fact that if you were to implement this ball at this year's Masters, when Rory hit it 360 yards on 13 to where he hit it, with this particular new golf ball, he wouldn't have hit it 360 yards with that same swing.
correct.
So
It's a slower ball.
is that not? He's going to hit it. He can hit it what? 10 yards, 15 yards shorter.
I mean,
Maybe?
if he's swinging 125 and that ball is limited at 317 in those testing conditions, then yeah, it's going 317. But we don't know what the ground conditions are, the air conditions.
We never know what the ground
conditions.
conditions are. So
Again,
that
100%.
it's
From
kind
a
of not relevant, because if it's wet, it's wet. It's going to carry. It's not
Yeah,
going to
but
roll.
but yes, from a percentage standpoint, he would be that much less.
Okay.
That's the whole point of it.
Okay. So let's just let's talk quickly about the arguments in favor of doing this, of rolling the golf ball back a little bit.
Sure.
Do we agree that the courses, because of the length that some of these guys are hitting it, the courses are becoming more like the maintenance costs are going up because the courses there has to be more grass. There has to be more. I don't know if I buy that argument at all. Like, I don't know. Yes, I suppose, but are golf courses really being built nowadays to accommodate for the length that people are hitting the golf ball, or are they being built based on budget and property and design? Like, I don't know, unless you're building a golf course specifically to host a major championship.
Correct.
Or
Exactly.
something like
Or a
that.
pro event. Or a
that
pro
you're
event,
really like. I don't know if I buy into that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jack. I don't know if I buy into the maintenance argument.
Yeah, more land obviously costs more to take care of, but do you
But your
have to have
design
that?
doesn't have to include more grass.
No. Well, that's yes, true, exactly it.
I mean,
So
Pinehurst is a nice golf course. A lot of dirt there.
yeah. Well, it will definitely it's about sustainability for sure. But you're right. I mean, when you look at that from a design standpoint, I mean, making a golf course excessively long is a choice. Is it mandatory? No, I bet you if you go and look at the golf courses in the UK versus the US, for an example, you'll find that the average golf course in the UK is a lot shorter than what you find in the US.
Yes.
Whereas a lot of those courses in the US are done from a marketing standpoint. Because as we know, when we've talked about this before in the 1990s and 2000s, it was that 7,000 mark to be a championship golf course. That was the ego thing that was done from a marketing standpoint, where it's like, oh, nobody's ever going to play a 6,300 yard golf course. Well, in essence, most of the people do, because they're not playing those back tees anyways. So yes, the course sustainability thing, that's
a reach. I think that's a bit of a reach on this. Safety, yeah, I can see that to a point. Sure. I still don't think that that's a big enough reason to roll back the golf ball. I don't think it's a big enough argument to justify rolling it back. Preserving skill and strategy, yes, 100%. I believe that sure. I do not like this era of this, which you put bomb and gouge. I don't like this. I think it's because then you're good at golf, but you're probably better at driving at hitting the ball further, and then you're just hitting a lot of short. Like, how good are you if you have to hit driver and then a 3-iron into a green? That's what I want to know. How good are you? Because that's how the game when the game evolves. Yes, there's always going to be somebody who hits it bigger. Jack hit it bigger. Arnie hit it bigger. Sure. The guys that came before him, Hogan and Snead hit it bigger. Hogan, Jones, those guys, they weren't the bombers of that came later. So. I mean, Corey Pavin won a U.S. Open at Pumpkin Ridge. Was it a Pumpkin Ridge? Shinnecock. Sorry, Pumpkin Ridge. Who won? Oh, Tiger won something at Pumpkin Ridge. Anyway, I had a U.S. Open at Pumpkin Ridge.
He was a U.S. amateur.
Right. So Shinnecock. And Corey Pavin's shortest hitter of the golf ball ever on the planet with his whatever those crappy VAS things were. But
I mean, they certainly, he's certainly the exception and not the norm. But I agree as far as to allow more. Although, the longest are still going to be the longest, right?
Yes,
but I also think for making a golf course, and I'll put it in my own context. So if I play a golf course that's normally 6,500 yards, I'm hitting a lot of wedges. A lot of wedges. I'm still going to be rewarded because I'm still going to have a shorter club in my hand than probably the average golfer. But I don't mind if all of a sudden I have to hit a longer club in there.
But are you going to hit a lot? Like, that depends on the course. If you're playing a golf course if it's a golf tournament and that golf course is set up where you're on the tee, it's a 450-yard par 4 or a 420-yard par 4, which is short by today's standards.
Sure.
And there's a bunker off the tee that starts at around. There's a collection of bunkers that starts around 300. And finishes around 325, 330. And then there's a tongue of fairway beyond that that you would have to cover the bunker to get to that fairway to have your wedge. And you're playing in a tournament. Are you going? And that bunker is penal, which is bunkers should be. And that's the one thing I also. Bunkers are not penal anymore for players. When they design golf course, they're not penal.
That's a whole other argument.
But what I'm saying that changes the way this bomb and gouge thing is like nobody's afraid of anything. But if you're afraid to hit it in the bunker, then you're not going to hit the driver. You're going to hit the iron or the fairway wood, so you stay short of the bunker. And then you're going to have a 6-iron in or an 8-iron, not a wedge.
I think that's what you're seeing for the designer standpoint. It's not so much building the golf courses. It's a case of we're seeing a lot of redesigns at golf courses where they're having to move bunkers.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's I think
perfect.
Course design can be built around what exists. If you truly then build the golf course to fit. Now they'll say, but you build the golf course to fit this golf ball, and then the manufacturing industry goes and makes a golf ball that goes further. This is where I start to have the issue, is that we're always trying to make it make the ball go farther, the ball go farther.
For sure.
So that hurts the golf course industry. It helps the manufacturing industry because The consumer wants to hit the ball 300 yards, so they make that golf ball go further. They're happy, but the golf courses can't keep up with that. That's where the necessity. That to me, that's the only real argument is to try to stop the manufacturing industry from making the golf ball go so far that they make the courses that are being played not obsolete, because it won't go obsolete, but make adjustments which are far more expensive for them to have to because they're small owners and stuff, not big companies. That's the only real.
Well, it's one of them, I think, for sure. But I think it's a big one as far as the design aspect of it, too. I mean, we still have to recognize that the average golfer loses more yardage because they mishit the golf ball, not because they hit it well anyways. So, but for certainly as far as the golf courses, and we have to take into account not the 1% of the world that are playing professional events. It's the reality of the actual business itself that it really is important in this equation.
Okay.
But that's balancing what golfers do and what golf courses, provide and have to provide.
So this is where I flip the script a little bit. Okay. So I agree with you. And that's a good statement, a good spot to start flipping the script a little bit. We're talking about the smallest percentage of the golfing market is the professional game. And then you go, the next smallest percentage is the competitive amateur or, collegiate game.
Sure.
The largest portion is the amateur, is the recreational golfer, the club golfers, that kind of thing. So for everybody other than those that play high-level competitive golf at the professional level or at the amateur level, the golf ball, it's irrelevant. It doesn't, how far it goes is maybe it matters a little bit, but really doesn't matter. I mean, they hit it far. Most of our amateur golfers that are recreational golfers, they're probably double-digit handicaps or higher. We all know that it's a small percentage of golfers, even recreational ones, that are single-digit handicaps or better. So again, you're still talking about a small percentage of the market. So why does the professional golf not follow the same model that other professional organizations have when it comes to the piece of equipment that everybody has to use? Okay, so we're not talking about their tennis rackets. We're not talking about their field hockey sticks. We're not talking about their hockey sticks. We're not talking about their baseball bats or their gloves or their cleats. We're talking about the ball. So basketball, hockey, baseball, football, tennis. Why do we have in basketball, there's one ball? Okay? There's a Wilson basketball. That's the only basketball that the NBA uses. They don't use a Spalding. They don't use a Nike. They don't use Adidas. They use a Wilson ball. Now, all of the other ones.
But now they use a Wilson. I said they used to use a Spalding, but now they use a Wilson.
But it doesn't matter. It still was one ball.
We're talking about specifications, not brand.
The specifications of that. But what we're talking about is that the specs on that one ball are the same. So even the ones you buy off the shelf at Canadian Tire or Walmart or whatever, they have official size and weight. So the ball is the same size. Even the ones that the NBA doesn't use that are commercially available for people to use in their backyard or in their gym or whatever, they may not be the one the NBA uses, but they're the right size. They're the right weight. There's a recommendation for the air pressure that's supposed to be on the ball, all that kind of stuff. But it's one ball that the NBA uses. It doesn't matter what court you go to, it's one ball. NBA. Hockey, it's the Sherwood puck. It's been the Sherwood puck for a very long time. The puck has not changed in size, weight. They changed the type of rubber at one point to make sure that they lasted longer because of the equipment that they were starting to use. So they changed the rubber, but the rubber didn't change the size or the weight of the puck. It's still a Sherwood puck. You go to an NHL game, you get a game puck, it's a Sherwood puck. The pucks that I use in my sessions are not Sherwood pucks. They're size and weight. I can tell you the rubber does not last as long. They chip and they break a lot easier, but I'm using them for multiple training sessions. It doesn't matter. The pucks that we use in minor hockey, they're whatever the coach hands the ref at the beginning of the game on the home team. There's no official game pucks for minor hockey. There's no official game pucks for AAA. There's no official game pucks for any of that. They may for a tournament have an official game puck that has the logo and stuff on it, but it's just a hockey puck. But at the professional level, at the NCAA level, at the OHL level, and so on, they use one brand of puck. Football, Wilson football. Tennis, Dunlop tennis ball. Now, we talked about tennis. They do use different, there is some controversial things there, but at the same time, it's still a Dunlop. Now, the Wimbledon might want a different ball.
Not mandatory, though. It's not
What's that?
mandatory. The Dunlop ball is a marketing deal with the ATP. It's not mandatory.
I understand that, but the players don't have a choice of what ball they use. They don't get to go to their locker room and pull out the Wilson tennis ball that they use for practice and use it in the game because there's two players.
They have to use what's provided. Yes, I understand that. So it does vary. Now, one thing that's in there is that when I think about it, now obviously, if we look at soccer balls and basketballs, they're available in multiple different sizes, right? So they're, to suit obviously WNBA, there are also different sizes and stuff like that are available. The one thing though that players do want to play is that if you talk to a team that's playing, they want to play with a NBA ball, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things that happens though, and one of the discussion points that has been within some of the, the bifurcation, the discussing of two balls, one of the discussions is that a lot of the amateurs, despite what they don't want to, or they don't want to play something different than what the pros play, even though they do already. I get that. They do already. They play a different thing. I think the hard part is that the genie is out of the bottle. I think that's the difficulty, and it's hard to set a line in the sand in 2030.
Yes,
when they should have done this in 19.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
Now we're getting to the nitty gritty of it.
Yeah.
What we're talking about doing is probably next to impossible to happen.
Correct.
It's next to impossible to say the PGA Tour to say we've decided that we're going to sign a deal with XYZ ball company, and they're going to be the official ball of the PGA Tour. Every player on the tour has to play this ball. No other ball, no other brand, no other style. You get your balls at the you get as many balls as you want, but and you can customize them with your name on them and your numbers and all that stuff to make them personal. But whatever ball you're playing now, forget it. This is the ball you have to play, just like hockey and other sports. So I argue about it. I advocate for it. I think it's a great idea. I love the concept of every single player has to play the same exact ball. Okay, I like it. It's never going to happen. Yeah. So the best we're going to do, the best we're going to do is the rollback. But the point,
I know what you're saying. Though.
Yeah, I talked to somebody about this the other day. They kind of argue and says, "Well, the players' clubs are fine tuned to work with a specific ball." I'm like, who gives a crap if they're fine tuned? The tennis racket is fine tuned for the player. It's not fine tuned for the specific tennis ball that they're using. And as the tennis ball is used, it gets a little bit more fuzz on it. The racket reacts. They change rackets during the game to adjust for that.
Sure.
You change your equipment, I think, to adjust for the piece of equipment that you're forced to use, which is the ball.
And I think the other side of it, and we saw that with the groove debate and the lawsuits in the 1980s, is that you also have the commercial side of it too. And there's a reason why the USGA and the R&A have to send this to the manufacturers, because they're the ones that are making equipment, not the governing bodies. Exactly. They could set out things, but they're going to probably end up in court, and it's probably going to not go well because all these manufacturers have more money than those governing bodies do. So it's so unfortunately it's a circular argument or discussion. I think if they were going to do exactly what you were advocating for, if they had done it early on, then they would have taken care of it. But I think now when they start to talk about the rules, and this was something one of the John Spitzer from the US or the R&A, no, it wasn't him. Actually, it was another guy from the R&A who said it during a GJAC thing a couple years ago, is at some point they had to draw a line in the sand. So they can't just wait. They can't go back to 1930, but they can at least set some sort of standard so that there is some sort of limitation. So
so all of the things that we just talked about, all of those things to say that there is a plan in place. Should they stick to the plan? Should they hold their ground on this? There is a plan in place that there would be a unification of the golf ball by 2030, which would see all golf balls that are being made
just change standards.
Is to have a standard that would bring the distance back a bit. Now, guys that hit it long are still going to hit it long, and guys that hit it short are still going to hit it short. But it's somewhere. It's somewhere landing in between. In a perfect world, we would do what I'm suggesting, and you would have one tour ball, one tour ball that everybody had to use, and then they didn't get this personal preference stuff. It's like, nah, that's the ball you got to use because that's the official ball of the PGA Tour. So suck it up, Buttercup. But that's not going to happen. No. Is there one ball to rule all? I guess what's going to happen is if there's one ball to rule all, there may be one ball during the process of this unification by 2030 that is the ball that everybody likes to play and might forego equipment contracts in order to play the ball that they really like, or they might not be noticeable at all to the majority of the players out there.
Yeah, basically it's what we have now, just a little bit less, and that's really what it amounts to, but it won't hurt the amateur as much as they might think, so nothing to be scared of. And for those of us who hit it long, well, you know what, so what?
And we all get older, we all get shorter anyways. We don't really care.
There you go. You're going to probably play the same number of rounds of golf. It's not going to change that.
Exactly.
Hopefully it helps out. Hopefully it helps out the golf industry as it is. So
yeah, exactly. So we will we'll leave it at that. If you've got any comments on this stuff, by the way, like we do get a fair number of people that chime in and let us know their opinion, but feel free to email Scott or myself or DM us a message, whatever you want to do with your opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion. I'd love to come on the podcast next week and say, hey, look, I got like 30 or 40 people that think I'm out to lunch and I'm an idiot for even suggesting. Or I could get 30 or 40 people that say, yeah, I'm with you, Mr. Jeff, I'm with you. You know, we should have one ball to rule all. And I would agree with you, and a bunch of us can get together. We can take it up with the PGA Tour, and we can make that happen.
There you go.
Never. Okay, we're done.
Yep.
And we're gonna get out of here. So thank you to for all of you for listening. Thank you to all the sponsors: Metcalf Golf Club, Falcon Ridge Golf Club, and a presenting sponsor, Golf PEI. Golf Prince Edward Island is premier Canadian golf destination, boasting most number of golf courses per capita in this great country. 400 fairways, closer than you can imagine, top-tiered accommodations, and exquisite culinary experiences. It is the easiest golf vacation you will ever book, so book it, golfpei.ca. Hopefully, we hope you enjoy watching and listening to this podcast. Be sure to follow us across all the social media networks: Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook. Subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget our YouTube channel. Like us, click the notification bell, and make sure you never miss a single episode of the podcast. Head to flagstick.com. More amazing golf content delivered every day. And the season's about to start, so that is going to be crazy. And be sure to subscribe to the Flagstick Digest newsletter. Get that thing delivered to your inbox fully free of charge 3 times a week. That being said, one golf ball to rule all. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. Until next week, I am Jeff Botter.
And I'm Scott McLeod.
Always remember, go for the one ball. This day.